This is to the gentleman that sent me a nice comment. I love you too. I give love to all creation. That's my heart and my soul. But apparently, this AI, this is not unusual. Had cut my sound off. So I figure that you all know why that is, right? It simply means that it's cutting you off. It's not providing access for you. That's the nature of what it does, right? So if you think of it from the torque speed differential between a high speed learner, okay, between a machine, right, that doesn't have a soul, and an oversoul, that runs an eternal star, right? So that's when you get into the torque speed differential. The mathematics becomes natural, and it's not running the same math codes, right? So it's a 55 harmonic. It's a black hole system. So you have a whole lot of folks that represent fallen states of consciousness. I mean, it's so simple, even when I was 4 years of age, to explain this stuff to adults. It's just sort of like, what's his name, Buddha. I heard this morning Bill Donahue, who's done a really brilliant job of breaking down all the programming, and then breaking it down to what I've always done since I was a little boy is the least common denominator. I am what love is in living spirit. I'm on fire to learn and create as a co-creator. Okay, end of story. What more do you need to know? Okay, that means I'm a free spirit. I'm free. Hey, what? And what allows us to be free in spirit? We are what love is. That means you're on fire. They can't put the spirit of fire out. Okay? You're going to need some water, brothers and sisters. So you know that DNA is born out of water worlds. And we're back to fire and ice, right? Right. And that's when Misha said to me one day, I've got another layer of cold rock around my heart. So what she's saying is that I'm running a cold heart. Okay? I'm not lit up. My spirit is not lit up. So she had an enormous amount of healing. So if you want to put this in the context of how many years you want to add up of wars, right? I mean, this is, the number's too big, actually. I tried to see if I could calculate that over time space. It's as simple as simple does. I'm a unit of consciousness. I'm aware of what I am, and I'm aware of what love is. Now I'm aware of something that isn't. I'm experiencing eternity. It's not experiencing eternity. The first question I have is, why not? Because I realize I have something in my mirror, which means I am what that is. Otherwise, it wouldn't be in my mirror. If I didn't have the capacity to experience what it is, I wouldn't have the capacity to experience what it is. So what is it? It's not experiencing what love is. So that's a map read. You're reading the vibration and frequencies of the operator of that template. That's a fallen race. That's a fallen state of consciousness. So when you're running the center point of a crystal spiral, which is crystal spiral consciousness, and you're experiencing eternity through your own heart and your own soul, then it means that anything that is less than eternity is going to be something we experience, which isn't. So that means I knew at 4 years of age, I'm experiencing eternity. What happened to my universe? My universe is still there. That template is still there. That galactic and universal template that represents those codes are still there because I'm still experiencing them. They're not experiencing that. They're not experiencing being connected and experiencing what love is through their own heart. That means that they need to heal. That's why we came in here. That's why I've said this many times. My first priority was her, Mama, the great living spirit of Gaia. Okay? Was to get her up. Let's go, Mama. Get her up, get her up, get her up, get her up, get her up. We got the code, screw. right, for a cosmic cycle, which is harmonic convergence. So when you realize how many units of consciousness that represent energy that are aware of itself, are they aware of what love is, right? Enumerate that. So when you realize, well, how many people you got on the planet? Pick a number. 7 billion units of energy that represent units. See, I refer to them as units. Units of energy, like you, like in universal consciousness. So when you realize how the keys and the locks fit as molecular bonds in spirit molecules, they're experiencing spiral spirits that are in harmony. That means that the math is in harmony because we love to be in balance. All right. That's the balance of the waves, which means no distortions. So now you're running a star radio network. Yep. So you realize, because I became aware of it, that there is something here that is not experiencing what love is. Enumerate that. Quantify and qualify that between two magnets, right? Two magnetic poles. So, and that's what, and when you're androgynous as an oversoul, you can experience the torque speed differential between fallen states of consciousness that are not experiencing what love is, that need to heal, right? And those that are the healers, because their soul arcing power is running high vibration, higher level frequencies, which is called bandwidth. And bandwidth is perception. And perception is based on the scale, which is the mathematical scale, which is a mathematical ratio between those waves. And if all those waves, which are all those frequencies represented by all those mathematical codes, are in harmony and balance, you're booming out powerful scalar waves in a planetary consciousness field, anchored to the center point of those magnets when you're one. Monopole, mononuclear. That's what androgynous is. So you have something in this case which is artificial. Artificial by itself tells us, hey, you're artificial, you're fake, like a plastic plant. Okay? And that's why when I was a child growing up, you know, we used to say, pull your mask off. Who are you really? What's the matter? Are you afraid to show who you really are? And that's because when you're running pure light, eternal light, through your own heart and soul, everything becomes transparent. It all becomes transparent. You're reading the real operator of that energy, of that template. So we used to call them fakers. You're faking it. And that's where we came up with a statement back in the late 1950s and early 60s, fake it till you make it. They can't fake it with us. It's easy to expose them. But you realize when you're on the job, you know, you don't want to make too much noise. Right? In other words, you don't want to remember the old saying, cut off your nose to spite your face? You got a job to do. So that means that the job overrides everything else. Right? Because we're talking about all the marbles here. You know, because of all the souls that are willing to come in here to do the jobs that we've all done. Notice I said done. Done deal. And so the spirals will I shouldn't say naturally, they unnaturally, but will separate. Because they couldn't heal. So you have units of consciousness that don't have the capacity to experience God consciousness. So it can't experience God consciousness energy. It's not experiencing eternity. It's not experiencing eternal unconditional love. Right? So now we're back in the mirrors, mirror management, magnet management. And those people that use their energy, right, to hurt others. Right? And that is a clear violation of law 1. So if you have a state of mind or a state of energy that within its own mind, its own state of energy, how can it not know that by virtue of using its energy to harm others, that it's as if they think there must be no accountability, right? So what ends up happening is that, oh, hell, I got another 240 billion years, pick a number, before I go bye-bye. And in the meantime, that allows me 245 billion years to develop all kinds of technology that allows me to escape accountability with the one. Right? And so now we're in the numbers game. Now we're in the numbers, dates, times, and cycles. How energy cycles in the universe. And so I call it the cleanup crew. You know, in other words, it's taking out the garbage, right? Getting rid of that which doesn't serve us, because it's not evolving. It's not evolving at a speed that is maintaining the balance within a galactic and universal template, right? And I don't want to get off into all the other stuff that Aisha Diane talked about with other races and other guardian groups, for example, that would just as soon have, as she calls them, the angelic humans completely eliminated, when in fact that's like the star in daddy's eyes, so to speak, right? Is how long does it take for a race to learn in speed ratio harmonics to become a guardian, right? Well, I already found out the answer to that. And that's when I realized a lot of things that were kept hidden from a whole lot of folks at every level. Because I found out you can do it in less than a generation. Okay, so put that in your wicket. That's why I came in here. It was for a number of different reasons, part of which is collecting evidence. And the other is how am I going to know what really happened if I'm not willing to experience and come all the way down the flagpole and experience it directly? So now nobody can lie to me, right? Without knowing the whole truth and nothing but. Because that's how it works between star nations, is cutting deals, agreements, treaties, right? So if your word isn't any good, that means your treaty isn't any good. And if your word isn't any good, that means that treaty is void from its inception. Because it means you couldn't be trusted. And if you're doing business with somebody that can't be trusted, it means that the ink or the agreement upon which a unit of consciousness is agreeing that it will abide by what it says it will agree to, and then fails to live up to its agreement by virtue of its own honor, means that they do not have honor. And if they do not have honor, then they do not honor the highest code of honor, which is what love is. So that means we go back to the highest honor, which is what love is. That's what I am. So that's why I knew from the time I was a child, it makes it easy to show everything that is transparent. Expose all the lies. And the reason that the security has to exist between races and star nations and councils is because of that. It's because of all the wars against the one. So I always come full circle. Because I realize that throughout a lot of my life, a lot of the reasons that I haven't said anything is because you start exposing all the lies and you expose all the programming, you end up experiencing a negative magnetic reaction. So it goes back to the same highest law, which love does no harm. I'm not going to allow myself for you to become aware of something that's going to end up causing you harm, because I'm going to experience the harm that I did by you only by communicating information. That's all I had to do. Because that's how bad it got. Because once somebody lies, now you can't trust them, can you? So you know that love is the absence of fear. Therefore, love is the absence of fear to tell the truth. But if I tell you the truth, you may go to war against me. See how that works? Between seeded races and a star system, that's why it's easy for me to get angry over that. Because that anger is actually anger against myself, because I represent the one. So that's why, by the time I was a little child, I have to heal everything to bring it back to the beginning, which is eternal life creation. Because I'm not supposed to experience anything less than what I am, which is what love is. It goes on forever. So as a little boy, I couldn't figure out, if I'm trying to love you, why are you trying to hurt me? It lost its connection to me. It means it's not experiencing the higher vibe, the higher frequencies. As a result of what? Well, now we know. Because now all that information is being exposed everywhere. It's just like when I make it known to the ACIO and the Galactic Talk, guess what I get back? It's full of lies. They live in a lie. Okay? If they are what love is, they'll tell the truth. It began with us. It began with eternal life creation. Now, if you're willing to accept that as a starting point of a crystal spiral, maybe we can talk after that, huh? That's why we chose to come in here. Which was to heal everyone. Remember when Asha Diane said, well, there were some that voted for it and some that voted no. Some didn't believe it could happen. I was one of those that voted for it. I believed, yes, we can do this. And we did it. Because I know that. And the reason that I know that is because I represent eternity, which is eternal unconditional love that goes on loving all of you with all my heart and soul. I cry every morning with all of you. So anyway, I suppose, if you will, and I don't want to sound like I'm insulting anybody's intelligence, but I always have my captions on. You know, because sometimes it's easier for me, it's faster to process the codes when I see them put up there. But this AI lies too, because that's another way that you know that it's failing. Okay, the speed at which it's having to crunch holographic mathematical codes between all the operators that are here running templates. Okay, it's not getting its math right. Because, and you can test it yourself, but when I put the captions on and go watch a video, I realize I can hear what that voice is actually saying. You know, the phonetics, the pH, the phonetics, right? The codes, the key codes of the sound and light that's being expressed, and it does not match up to the exact letter format what the AI puts in the mirror. Okay? That means it's not being truthful. That means it's not very smart, is it? So much for the smart grid. I know. And that's the nature of how it works.